Some people die chasing glory. Others die chasing curiosity. But then, there are the ones who die for reasons so ridiculous, you can't decide whether to laugh or stare in disbelief. These are the most ridiculous deaths that actually happened. In 1979, in Wichita, Kansas, 42-year-old Paul Benton believed he had discovered a homemade cure for hiccups that doctors didn't want people to know about. His method was simple: shock the body to interrupt the spasm. He'd read in a newspaper that a sudden scare could stop hiccups instantly. So he decided to take it further by using electricity. On a summer evening, Paul connected two exposed wires to a car battery in his garage. Standing in front of a mirror, hiccuping uncontrollably, he touched the wires to his chest, hoping to reset his diaphragm. The current threw him backward instantly. Minutes later, neighbors found him lifeless. The hiccups had stopped permanently. The coroner's report read, "Death by electrical shock." Friends said he always joked about finding the ultimate cure. And, in a way, he did. In 1999, in Johannesburg, South Africa, 29-year-old stunt enthusiast Kevin Wilson decided to impress his friends with a homemade skydiving test. He wasn't a professional jumper. He was a mechanic who loved challenges. He told his friends he could replicate a parachute using old nylon fabric and a few cords from the shop. They laughed, but he was serious. On a windy Saturday, Kevin climbed into a small plane with his makeshift gear. Witnesses said he looked nervous, but determined. When the signal came, he jumped. The fabric flapped open for a second, and then tore apart midair. He fell more than 1,000 meters before hitting a cornfield. Investigators found that the parachute wasn't even properly tied to the harness. Friends said he wanted to prove anyone could engineer safety at home. Instead, he proved the opposite. In 1993, in Toronto, Canada, a lawyer named Gary Hoy wanted to prove how strong the glass was in his office building. It was a common trick he did for visitors. He would run full speed into the window to show it couldn't break. He had done it many times before, laughing as people gasped. On a warm July afternoon, during a company party, Gary decided to do it again. He ran, hit the glass, and it didn't shatter. Instead, the entire window popped out of its frame. He fell 24 stories to the ground below. Witnesses said it happened in seconds. The coroner's report noted the glass was, in fact, unbroken when they found it beside him. He proved the window was strong, just not the frame. In 1979, in the Arizona desert, a man named Jado Rocketman became a legend, mostly because of how unbelievable his story sounded. According to police reports, he attached a jet-assisted takeoff rocket to the back of his Chevy Impala. He wanted to test how fast it could really go. Investigators later found a 3-meter skid mark leading to a patch of melted asphalt and pieces of car scattered across the desert. They estimated he reached over 400 miles per hour before the car launched into the air, hit a cliff, and exploded. The story spread everywhere. Even the Mythbusters tried to replicate it decades later. They couldn't. Whether the man existed or not, one thing was true. Whoever tried to turn a family car into a rocket didn't survive to brag about it. In 2002, in Kent, England, a group of amateur inventors built what they called the world's largest human catapult. The plan was simple: launch a volunteer across a field into a safety net 75 meters away. They had tested the frame, the elastic cords, and the angle of release. But on the day of the demonstration, something went wrong. The catapult fired perfectly, but the safety net was not in place. Spectators screamed as the man flew past it, landing on the ground beyond. He died instantly from impact injuries. Investigators found the net had been removed moments earlier for adjustment. The inventors insisted it was only a timing miscommunication. The device was later banned under UK safety law. The record attempt never made it into the books, only the headlines. In 1928, during the first Transamerica foot race, also known as the Bunyan Derby, Hundreds of runners attempted to cross the United States on foot, from Los Angeles to New York. Among them was a Greek immigrant named Peter Gavros. He had trained little, but believed sheer willpower could replace preparation. After about 3,400 miles, exhaustion and dehydration began to claim competitors. Some collapsed, others withdrew. Near Tulsa, Oklahoma, witnesses said Gavros refused to stop, even as medics shouted at him to rest. Moments later, he staggered, fell face first onto the road, and never got up again. The official report listed extreme fatigue and heat stroke as cause of death. He became a forgotten footnote in the history of endurance, a man who tried to outrun his own limits and lost. In 2014, in the Red Sea near Dahab, Egypt, professional diver Ahmed Gabr set out to break the world record for the deepest scuba dive ever achieved by a human. He had trained for 4 years, preparing to descend beyond 1,000 feet, deeper than any recreational diver had ever survived. But a separate attempt by another diver months later, aiming to surpass Gabr's depth, turned into disaster. On September 2, 2015, a 41-year-old safety diver named Guy Garman entered the Caribbean waters off St. Croix, planning to descend to 1,200 feet. He never resurfaced. Teams searched for days, but found only fragments of equipment and bubbles trapped deep below. His body was never recovered. The ocean had set the limit and kept the proof. In November 1967, Australian speedboat racer Donald Campbell attempted to break his own world water speed record on Coniston Water in England. He had already reached 276 miles per hour in earlier trials, but he wanted to go faster, to push beyond 300. After the first run, his team begged him to wait. The lake was too choppy, the wind unpredictable, but Campbell turned his Bluebird K7 around and went again. Midway through the second run, the boat hit its own wake, lifted from the surface, flipped forward, and disintegrated on impact. Campbell was killed instantly. His body and wreckage were recovered decades later, almost perfectly preserved at the lake's bottom. The pursuit of speed had claimed another soul. In 1964, a 17-year-old student named Randy Gardner from San Diego decided to break the world record for sleeplessness. Supervised by doctors and journalists, he stayed awake for 264 hours, nearly 11 days, without using stimulants. He succeeded, and the experiment became a scientific milestone. But others who tried to follow in his footsteps would not be so lucky. In 1977, a British man named Tony Wright attempted a similar endurance test at home, staying awake for over 9 days. By the 10th day, he began hallucinating, hearing voices, and showing signs of extreme paranoia. He collapsed on the floor and was later found unresponsive. His death was attributed to cardiac failure brought on by exhaustion. The mind had gone further than the body could follow. In 2018, stuntman Mad Mike Hughes attempted to launch himself into the sky inside a homemade steam-powered rocket over the Mojave Desert. He wasn't just chasing a record. He wanted to prove the Earth was flat. The rocket was built from spare parts and scrap metal, designed to reach over 5,000 feet. Hundreds gathered to watch as Hughes climbed inside. The countdown began. Steam hissed. The rocket roared to life. It shot upward, fast and straight. But seconds later, the parachute tore off at launch. The rocket climbed, then plunged back to the desert floor, exploding on impact. Hughes was killed instantly. His dream of touching the edge of space ended before it ever began. Some deaths make no sense. Some defy logic. And yet, they're all real. Every story you've heard tonight actually happened, and it's only a glimpse into how absurd reality can be. If you want to uncover more true stories that sound impossible, but aren't, subscribe and stay tuned for the next episode.